Hello everybody, welcome to episode 76 of Mouth Dancing, hosted by Young. Thanks again for tuning in. I really appreciate it. I kind of need to pee right now. I mean, I don't need to pee like really badly, like it's an emergency, but just slightly, you know. I've been drinking a lot of liquids this morning, and I don't think I've ever recorded a podcast episode yet where I sort of needed to pee. I usually take care of that beforehand so that, you know, I don't have to worry about it. And it doesn't affect my podcasting, you know, because, I don't know, needing to pee probably affects you, right? Probably influences your thoughts and your mood and everything. Maybe I won't be as relaxed this episode. Maybe I'll be slightly anxious, like I kind of need to relieve my bladder, you know? But it's not that bad, so hopefully it's not going to make that big of an impact on anything, and the quality of the podcast will still be really high, because, you know, I like to hold myself to a pretty high standard when it comes to that. Today I wanted to discuss walking. Doesn't sound that interesting, does it, right? But hear me out. You never notice a lot of people walk with their hands in their pockets? Or maybe even just one hand in their pocket? Kind of like that Alanis Morissette song, I got one hand in my pocket, and the other one's waving a peace sign. But I don't think she was talking about walking. I think she was talking about something else. Anyway, walking with your hands in your pockets or just one hand in your pocket is not a good look. You should always walk with your hands outside of your pockets so that your arms are freely swinging. And that's for multiple reasons. Reason number one is bad body language. I saw this in a book once. People, you know, when they have their hands in their pockets, it's kind of like a form of hiding. It's kind of like, you know, not wanting to expose yourself completely to the world. It's kind of saying you're defensive or protecting yourself a little bit. And, you know, I understand that totally when I'm talking to someone who has their hands in their pockets. It kind of seems like they're shrinking away from everything, right? Or they're kind of curling into themselves, like almost like an animal, like a porcupine curling up into a ball, right? And that's just the vibe it gives off. And when you're walking like that, it doesn't give a good impression to people, right? If you're worried about that, maybe you're not worried about that. Maybe you don't care and people think less of you or whatever. But if you're trying to make a good impression, have your arms swinging freely at your sides. That's how you get a proper strut going when you're walking, right? I mean, who doesn't want to strut and look confident when they're walking? I know I do. And I'm sure you do as well. Most people, most normal, sane people, that's how they want to look. And yeah, another reason, what if someone attacks you? You want to get caught with your fucking pants around your ankles? No, you gotta have your fists ready to start swinging at that son of a bitch, right? I guess you could argue, what if you have a knife in your pocket or a gun and you want to have it, you know, your hand is already there in your pocket and you can grab it right away. Still though, you don't want to get caught like that. Because if they attack you first, you know, and you're not aware of it, you want to be able to put your arms up to block something possibly, right? And then once you get a little distance from them and you get an opportunity, that's when you put your hand in your pocket and grab whatever defensive weapon you got, like your gun or your knife or whatever. And lastly, let's say you're walking around and you got your hands in your pockets and you hit a rock or something, or it's icy because it's in the winter and you slip. If your hands are in your pockets, how are you going to break your fall? Probably with your freaking face is what's going to happen. And you don't want that to happen. Better to break your fall with your hands or your arms, right? I mean, if you fall, you're probably going to get somewhat injured no matter what, but you want that injury to be on a less vulnerable part of your body, like your arms and hands, even your legs or torso. But the last place, the least desirable place, is your head and your face, right? Got to protect those beautiful mugs you got out there, right? And your noggins, because you need those for thinking. And yeah, but mostly it just looks like shit. So don't walk around like that. It makes you look like a turd. Like a scared little turd. And no one wants to look like that. I was thinking about something really kind of morbid the other day. I mean, I've talked about cannibalism on this podcast before, but I wanted to bring it up again, but in a sort of different context. You know how, like, at the bottom of the ocean, or a lake or something, or maybe even a river, there could be, like, dead bodies, right? Maybe it was someone who got assassinated, Maybe they got whacked by the mob. Maybe they drowned. Or maybe they killed themselves. And they drifted out to sea. There could be a million different reasons why there's a dead body in the water, right? They could have been thrown overboard as like some sort of Navy funeral or something. People get buried at sea sometimes, not just for military reasons. But yeah, there's corpses at the bottom of the water there. And organisms eat them, like bottom-dwelling fish or little microbes maybe. But if you eat, let's say you eat a fish that lives at the bottom of the sea and it ate some of that corpse. And if you eat that fish, is that cannibalism? Or does it not count as cannibalism? Because they say you are what you eat, right? But are you what you ate? Does that make sense? You are what you ate, just ate. You are what you eat. But are you the thing that you eat, the thing that you eat eats, are you that stuff as well? Like a rabbit eats grass probably. Are you grass or are you just a rabbit? This is kind of confusing my mind a little bit here. It's kind of tripping me out. But I think you are actually. Even if they digested it and incorporated the nutrients into their body and then, pooped out the waste, there's a little bit of that human corpse inside that fish now, right? So if you eat that fish, that's kind of like a form of cannibalism. It's like second-hand cannibalism, though. It's not intentional cannibalism, so it's not the same. It's kind of like second-degree murder almost. It's like you didn't plan it out, it wasn't like willful and everything. It was just maybe something that happened in the heat of the moment, like someone attacked you and then you killed them and then you get charged for second-degree murder or manslaughter. Well, if you eat a fish that ate a corpse, that's like, second-degree cannibalism, or maybe it's not manslaughter, maybe it's like man-eating or man-consumption. That's what they would call it legally, probably. But I think all of us have maybe at some point eaten another person secondhand. Because that's the cycle of life, right? There's dead bodies everywhere. And then those dead bodies get consumed by like all kinds of things. Insects, bacteria, fungus, animals, birds, whatever. And then we eat some of those things that we're feeding on that corpse. So that's, an interesting way to look at it. We're all cannibals in a way, so I don't know, maybe it gives me a little more, maybe not quite sympathy or even empathy, but maybe just a little bit of understanding of why a cannibal does what they do. I don't support cannibalism in any way. I don't think you should eat humans unless they volunteered their corpse to be eaten. And even then, I wouldn't really want to do it. I would be weirded out by it. Or if you had to do it to survive, like in that movie Alive, which was based on a true story, where there was a plane crash in the mountains and then they had to eat like the dead people to survive. Yeah, that's gives you a sort of glimpse into what cannibalism is all about and why some people do it. And maybe we could grow a little closer together as a species if we understand why some of us do that, right? Cannibalism, it's taboo for a reason, but maybe it should be less taboo, right? Because we've all done it actually, unintentionally. And whether you intended to or not doesn't matter. You still did it, so you're a cannibal. And lastly, I wanted to talk about something that offends me pretty deeply. I don't like the word ASS. It's pronounced ass. A lot of people say this word, without even thinking about it, they just say it. It's technically a curse word. Unless you're talking about the animal, the donkey, or the burro. It's also called an ass or a jackass. But some people say it to refer to human buttocks, or it's a term for having sex even, like I got some ass, right? Or they say, oh, look at that person's ass. Look at their beautiful rear end. But not all of us are down with that. We don't want to hear that word all the time. It's just crass. It's kind of barbaric to say it all the time. And, when people say the F word, sometimes they want to use a substitute and they say fudge instead, right? Oh, fudge, instead of, oh, what? The F-bomb. I think we need a similar substitute for the word ASS, because it's very offensive to people's sensibilities. And it's a word that is also part of a lot of other words, like, the word assassin, when you kill someone. Maybe you do it for hire, or you do it because you were directed to do it. That's an assassination, right? Well, that word has ass in it twice. Assin. So what I'd like to propose is that we replace that word with butt, which is, PG-13, and maybe even G, right? It's okay for children too, because they know the word butt. And people who don't like swear words, they're okay with butt. So, like, words like assassin would be written, instead of ass in, it would be butt in. And, like associate would be buttociate. I think you get the message, right? And, the word asset would be butt-et. And the word classroom would be klabut room. I think that's something we could all agree on. That's a pretty good compromise, right? So please give it some thought so that we could all move forward together in eradicating this extremely foul language from our vocabularies. Because it's just unnecessary to communicate. You don't have to say it all the time. Yeah, that will make the world a more pleasant place to live in, and we'll get along better with our fellow humans if we're not constantly offending each other with this extremely rude and just nasty language. It's something you don't want to see all the time. Frankly, disgusting and obnoxious. I'll just leave it at that. Other than that, I want you to all have a wonderful Labor Day weekend and to enjoy the waning days of summer. Thank you for tuning in again, and I'll see you next time. Bye.